righty. Welcome everyone to today's show, and I have special guests with me today here in the studio. We have Jennifer Bro and Kelly Monroe here from the local school district, and I'm showing them how to do live streaming. And hey, you know, it's a show all about telling everyone how to do live streaming, and I have a live studio audience. First time. So thank you very much for being here. Let's see, where is everyone watching today? I love to know where everyone is watching, because this is a worldwide show, and that's the magic of live streaming, in that you can at any time put something out there on the internet and it can be watched around the world. And part of that, where is it? We have Andreas, who is watching us from Greece. So thank you very much, Andreas, for being there. And then we have Mohammed Ibrahim is watching, but I don't know from where. So you'll have to let me know. And let's see, Sweet is watching and is very excited to see the YoloCam. And this is very different than the YoloCam. If you watch on the YoloLiv channel, actually I was at NAB with Yolo, and we did a live show from their booth with the YoloCam then, which is different than the device I'm going to show you now, which is why this one has an S7 on it. And Sweet is in Toronto, Canada. So thank you very much for being there. And Kirk Riley, who helped me out with the Dallas Production Expo. Go watch that live stream. Kirk is watching down in Dallas, Texas. Smart Video is saying the first question will be his. Hello from Belgium, but I don't know what the first question is yet. So let me know what that question is. Again, this live stream is about the YoloLiv. Hey, let's do that side by side. It's about the YoloCam S7, the new micro 4/3 production camera, vertical and horizontal, from YoloLiv. But as always, feel free to throw your questions in the comments. It doesn't have to be about the camera. It can be about audio, live streaming, switchers, whatever you want. If you ask me a question about something I don't know the answer to, I will let you know. I'm not AI. I'm not going to instantly search the internet and give you a wrong answer. I'm going to tell you that I just don't know. As always, feel free to go to the YouTube channel, like and subscribe. And if you find something you like there, share it on your social media, because that helps me out a lot. It introduces my content to people who don't know about StreamTek. Also, I write for Streaming Media Magazine, so you can go there. Sign up at streamingmedia.com. And they have regular newsletters, email newsletters that come for free, tell you about new stuff that's coming out. And if you need to reach me, there's a contact us at streamtek.us. So you can find out more about the show and reach me for consulting there. So as you can see, if we go to these live right here, look at that, we're live. Last week we talked about the YoloBox Extreme, and there's the Texas Production Expo. So we're doing a lot of YOLO content, but hey, YOLO is cranking them out right now, so that's what we're going to talk about. And with that, let me show you, I've got this box. And in this box, let's go to overhead. We have the YoloCam. This is obviously the YoloCam. This is, I believe, the power supply, and then we have the adapter. So we're going to go through all of this. The YoloCam does have a very unique look to it. It is a vertical-ish camera. You can see I've already done some playing with it. So this is not an unboxing video. I don't really do unboxing videos, but I do like to at least show you how things are situated. And in the YoloCam box, once you dig down into the box, you have this. And it's not very big, but it is metal. It is very robust in terms of heft, because it's going to dissipate some heat. So the metal enclosure is there to help you get rid of that heat. This is the YoloCam, and you'll see it's actually more than one camera. This is your micro 4/3 sensor right here. Release that lens cap. Ooh, it's going to give me a little bit of trouble there now today. And this is why we have live shows. I cannot get it out. I'm going to force that out. But down here you have another sensor. This is what they call a time of flight sensor. So it's actually focusing here. So if you reach towards this lens and you're not in the way of this lens, you have to remember that you need to be seen by this one in order to have the camera focus on you. But what that does is that time of flight sensor gives the camera the ability to focus very, very quickly once you can get a lens on it. There we go. Wow. I don't know if this is not lined up correctly, but that is the sensor right there. And I have a couple Lumix lenses all at the ready. This one is the 12 to 32. This is like a kit lens. It actually collapses, which is great for portability. And then for this, I also have the Olympus 14 to 42, but this is a motorized zoom lens. This one is also a zoom lens, but it is not motorized. So I'm going to put this one on here first. You line up the dots, clicks into place, and then you have to activate the lens. You bring it out to 12, because when it's all collapsed, it's not going to be able to focus or give you any decent image. You have to at least get it out to 12, and then you can zoom to 32 from there. So you can see, like, this lens is meant for a horizontal use, and this kind of looks like, hey, this is how I would use this camera, except there's no 1/4-20 thread on the bottom. There's no 1/4-20 thread over here. There's no 1/4-20 thread over there. There's only one down here, which doesn't necessarily help you if you want to use it like this. But that's the way it is. And on the back, actually, let me go to my side camera. You can see there's your HDMI out, your Type-C, and then a second Type-C for power. And very handy, a microphone in, because there's no microphone, there's no audio, as you can see in here. There's no microphone on the front. You know, it would be nice if there was like 2 microphone holes right here, but there isn't. And this up here, which kind of looks like a microphone, is actually just a light. So that is the way it is. You've got a cold shoe on top, but again, it is metal, which is very nice. And that is the whole back. That is the business side, and there's not a whole lot on there. So that's the whole unit. As you can see, it's designed to be used like this. It's really a vertical camera. And again, if I take this off, you can see which way is that sensor oriented? Vertically. And it's got dust on it. And if we line those up again, there we go. Let's see, any questions coming in? We have Otis from Houston. Hey, hello to Otis from Houston. And Wolfgang is saying hello from Germany. Again, if you have any questions at any time, feel free to throw them into the comments. Here we have your first USB-C cable, C to C, and very nice that they are including locking connectors with this camera, because the tiny little USB port right here is not going to really support a whole lot of hanging on here, or if you bang it, it's definitely going to just snap off the connector on the motherboard in there. So having it lock in place gives you a nice rigidity and makes that a lot more secure, so that your show doesn't, your camera doesn't go dead in the middle of a show, like mine did a few weeks ago. But I found out it wasn't the camera, it was actually something else. But having it die is not a good thing. Having the cable wiggle loose during a show, not a good thing. All right. So these 2 little black boxes include the two cables, and this one is very different. I mean, first of all, let me hold this up. You'll see they're different in thicknesses. The second cable is much thicker, and this is the USB cable for UVC. So I can plug that in, and this one just says power cable. So I did this wrong. The cables are labeled. The thinner cable is for power, and the thicker cable is for data. And the reason that probably is because when you're making custom cables, if you're just doing power, then you don't need the rest of the wires. So if you only have power wires in there, you cannot be using that cable for data, because those wires just literally are not in there. And that is, oh, see there, I accidentally left that on the screen. That is how you are going to be hooked up this way. Now again, you don't have to, you will need one USB-C for power. You will always need one for power. There's no battery in here. You're not going to be using this without a battery, but you do have HDMI out, so you can kind of use this with anything. And I just happen to have an HDMI cable here. So we're going to plug that into, there we go. And then in this white box is a 45 watt power adapter, which we're going to need in a minute. And the thing that actually makes this usable for horizontal production is this bracket. So what this does is it screws into the bottom of your camera here and then gives you different mounting points here. And we're going to use that. So I'm going to mount this into the bottom here. It's nice that it's got both finger as well as screw thread. And I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. Thank goodness I've got a tool right here. Going to give a shout out to Wooden Camera at NAB, had these cool tools. I leave it right there all the time. So now this box is even heavier. And look at this. It actually extends in front of the camera. Because once you add a lens, and these are very lightweight lenses, but you can add much heavier lenses, and that's going to pull the weight forward. So you don't want to have all these mounts behind the body of the camera. You want to have these things kind of sitting out in front. Technically, I would rather have this thing come out as a foot even further, so if I put a much bigger lens on the front, then I could, you know, again, balance it again. But again, there is weight to the camera. So you've already got this amount of weight behind your screw point, and then this lens has no weight. But if you have a larger lens, it should work for most Micro Four Thirds lenses. Not all. And you can, of course, add a different plate if you choose, depending upon the lens that you are connecting to it. And as a Micro Four Thirds camera, I might also, at this point, mention that there is a Micro Four Thirds group that I run called B4 on Micro Four Thirds. And that's where you put big broadcast B4 lenses onto Micro Four Thirds cameras, like this one. Now, I will also say that the size of this camera, how small this is, even a GH4 that I have, I wouldn't necessarily say, which I happen to have here for comparison purposes, if I mount a B4 lens on either of these Micro Four Thirds cameras, I'm not necessarily mounting the lens to the camera. The lens is so big and so heavy, and the mount, you're going to mount the lens to the tripod and then mount the camera to the back. So the camera is going to mount to the lens. So it should be Micro Four Thirds onto a B4, but that is what it is. Let's take the power supply and the power cable and get this camera powered up. We're going full steam ahead, aren't we? There we go. I have a buzz off and on. Sounds like a fan. You are correct. And I said somebody would pick up on that. Because I have a studio audience, I am actually sending NDI of my switcher out to another screen so that they can see it as I'm doing the production, because they obviously can't be like right here the whole time. So that they can see, see what's going on in terms of switching. And the added demand of switching the cameras, taking in multiple inputs, the green screen, the NDI output, and the recording sometimes causes the fan in the Director Mini to turn on. So yes, that's that woo you hear, that's the fan of the Director Mini turning on. And that's just a fact of life in live production. You need fans. So anyway, this is, I would think, on. And if I rotate it to you, you're going to see that little light. So this camera is now on as soon as I plug it in. There's no power switch. That's not like my GH4, which has a power switch. So here, see if I can arrange these two stands. And where am I on this? I am at 12 millimeters and I am at 12 millimeters. Now, here is the first thing you're going to learn about this is that the way I have mounted this on here with this bracket, the millimeter measurements are actually on the other side. So if you wanted to see them, I would need to like rotate everything around again to be able to present that. But as far as I know, I've got the GH4 right here. Let's do side by side. So this is the GH4. And look at that autofocus. Just look at that continuous. Let me try using. There you go. I'm pushing the button. And then look at that autofocus back from the GH4. As in, there is none. And this is on autofocus continuous. Now, if I was actively recording, I think it would understand to keep actively changing focus, but that's not the strong point of the GH4. And I realize I'm gonna have to reverse these so that the sensor of the YoloCam is not blocked. So now, see if I can get that working. So now if I go to the YoloCam, this is the YoloCam, and I move that out of the way, boom, and I bring my hand back up. I put my hand away, put my hand back up. So you can see that the focus on this camera goes really fast. And just like that, I can focus. Let's go back to the GH4. Now I admit that the GH4 is a bit older, but autofocus has never been a strong suit of many Micro Four Thirds cameras. So to have a camera like the S4 that, hey, look at this box that I've got. Boom. I can pull it away. I can put it back up. That product showcase, like I have on this Sony camera, that I can do this. See how cool that is? Boom. Boom. I think the Sony is actually a little smoother in focus. Like you don't even see it trying to make the focus. It's just there. Whereas if I go to the it takes that moment to make the change. So that is one of the real standout features of the YoloCam is that focus. And if you're using it for showcasing, if you're using it for product demonstrations, that is where the YoloCam is really going to be able to leverage that ability to nail focus like that, no matter how close you are getting, how close your guest is getting. If they hold something up to the camera, it's going to just, be right there. And for many cases, that is going to be a fantastic feature that you're not going to get with hello, hello, hello. No, just not going to happen. But that's not all. The YoloCam also has software that you can go in and dial in your settings, because as I showed you, there's no dials on this camera, whereas the GH4 has a full bevy of controls and a screen on the back that I can sit there and say, you know what? I want to change my ISO, change my shutter, change my aperture. I want to change the color balance. I want to do all these things. I can just do that right here on the camera. And that is one of the really nice features of DSLRs, even if they're not focusing super fast. But you're not going to do any of that on the YoloCam, because here on the YoloCam, you can look at the back of the YoloCam and you'd be like, yeah, I can't see it. I can't control it. There's no buttons. There's no knobs. There's nothing. There's not even a power button. It's meant, I would say, if you're going to make a little podcast studio, that it goes up, it sits there, it does its job, and if I need to get in and control it, you download the software. So to do that, on the YOLO page, over here, the YoloLiv page, they talk about the software called YOLO Component. Got a little screens. Then right over is your little download. First thing you're going to notice is it's going to require an actual computer, Windows or Mac. Mac, either Intel or Apple Silicon. It's not for Android. So if you're thinking I can take this and a couple of these in a YOLO box and go out, you don't have any camera control. You're going to need a computer to control the camera. So you really need to understand that because there are no physical controls on the camera. It's not really, I would say it's not really a field camera because you're going to need a laptop to talk to this camera. And the laptop talks to this camera over USB. Do you have 3 cameras? You may very well need 3 different laptops or connect to each one in succession, and you can't access them dynamically. You can't have 3 different control panels up for 3 different cameras at the same time, as far as I know. I don't have 3 cameras to test that. So let us plug this in because I have one cable plugged into the power. That leaves us the other cable, which is a USB-A, not a USB-C. It's USB-C on the back of the camera, USB-A going into the computer. So we're going to plug that in. Boom, boom, boom. And then I already have the software running. Camera detected. Do you want to connect to this camera? Let's confirm. And there it is. Now, camera version upgrade. Well, I guess we're going to upgrade the camera. I didn't do this before the show, but this is part of the live show. Hey, thank goodness it's going fast. We'll see if it actually upgrades the camera fast. Usually on the YOLO box, they don't force an upgrade. They give you an option. There's an update available. Update or continue. On this one, clearly it was, in order to continue, I had to upgrade. And as we can see, it's going to take a minute. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments. I don't know, one thing I'm interested in testing with this camera is, you can see it blinking over here because it's thinking. One of the things I'm interested in is, can the control panel control a motorized zoom? That's one of the things that you do get with the Mevo Core camera. And for those who don't know, let's come over here to the I'll just throw this up on the screen here. The Mevo Core is Mevo's tiny little micro four thirds box camera, and it's also has the same micro four thirds capability. It does not have the time of flight sensor that the YoloCam does, but it does have a built-in battery, and it does have built-in Wi-Fi. So you can use this as part of a multicam setup much easier than this one, because this one requires you to plug into AC to run this camera, or a separate and external USB-C battery. And then there's no Wi-Fi coming out of this, so you're going to need the HDMI cable or the UVC cable to go into your computer. So there's different functionalities for different solutions, but one of the key things is the core and the software that runs the Mevo Core cameras will actually zoom a motorized zoom lens. Now, there's only 4 motorized zoom lenses in existence, 2 from Olympus, 2 from Panasonic, and they cover a limited range, but for most people, they're going to be using these types of cameras. I think they're probably going to cover most of what you need. North Beach TV says, good morning from Ocean Shores, Washington. Thank you for being there. Again, we are talking about the YoloCam S7. Right now, we're waiting for the update. Yes, so I guess the update is done. Ah, there we go. So now we can see, here is the camera, and I have that set to, there's 12. There's 12 millimeters, and There it goes. Autofocus is back on. Let's go back to the YoloCam directly. Wow, okay, there's a little bit of a delay coming from the focus, which was not there before I did the update, interestingly enough. Let's zoom this in a little bit. It's still, wait for it. There it goes. It's slower on the focus since the update, which is very interesting. I expected the update to maybe make it faster or make it smoother, but it actually made it slower. Let's come over here and let's look at these controls. Let me see if I can zoom this out full screen. And we have our graphic settings, 9:16 or 16:9. Yes, we are horizontal, so yay that. Vertical flip, if you have it upside down. HDMI resolution is on auto 4K, 1080p or 720p, so you can set that as opposed to having it try and negotiate its own settings. And then here you go with your image settings. Sharpness, contrast, saturation. And if you wanted to dial it, look at that, black and white. Whoa, don't want to go there. Distortion correction. Now, for those who don't know, all Micro Four Thirds lenses actually have a little bit of distortion. And there's distortion correction profiles that are included with many Micro Four Thirds lenses. That's why there are always camera updates, so that the cameras know how to correct for the Micro Four Thirds lenses, which is how they can make them so small and so light. These are not beautiful, optical, pure, perfect lenses that are going to cost $4,000 and be like 5 pounds or 23 kilograms, you know, because I don't know metric, you know, lenses of glass. These are going to be like a couple ounces, you know, like 50 grams, and they're going to produce a really nice image once they're corrected. And so there's optical correction going in and shading. Oh, I'm doing as move into the center. You don't see me in the shot yet, but I'm in front of the sensor because the sensor, as I showed you, is actually offset from the camera. So as I move in front of the sensor, I'm not in the shot, but it's changing focus based on the fact that the sensor, which is offset from the lens, sees me. And you can actually see it polling in the camera. You can see the little blinky light. And then here I can manually zoom in and zoom out. And that right there is, wait, that right there is my sister's artwork. So give her a plug too. I'll put a link to her website in the description. She's got a show in Fairbanks coming up. I'm helping her out with that too. So we got that. I'm going to keep leaning in the way. Next we have focus. Yes, sirree. Type autofocus continuous, single, or face. That would actually be pretty cool. Focus only on a face. And let's turn it. And there you go. You can see on the controller, it's tracking my face. Let's go to the actual output, and you're not going to get that box on the output, but you do get it on the laptop control. So you can see that it has actually seen a face. And if I move out of the way and put my hand in the way, it's going to focus on my hand, but it recognizes it's not a face. So the face tracking is indeed recognizing the face in terms of tracking it. And then if I turn on autofocus continuous, it's just saying, I will focus what's in the box. Or I will focus on whatever the sensor finds, even if it's not in the box. Because remember, even if it's giving you this optical box in the camera lens, that's not the lens that's controlling the focus. Let's continue down the panel here. Focus enhancement and focus speed, standard and fast. Ooh, let's try that. Because that was the one thing I was talking about, but didn't seem to be fast enough. So let's make it fast. And go here. That does seem to speed it up a little bit, I would say. Look at this product I'm holding. Look at the background. Look at the product. Look at the background. Which do you think is better? Look at the product. Look at the background. I'd say the Sony is smoother, but I would say when the YOLO box tracks it, I would say the YoloCam gets there. It snaps focus faster, but I would say that the Sony will actually get there smoother, even if it does take a little bit longer to get there. All right, next one up. Trying to manage me and the camera. Come down here to zoom. Well, that's interesting. So I guess that's a digital zoom. And this is the part I wanted to find out. If I take this lens off, and remember they say don't take lenses off cameras while they're still on. Don't do that. Do as I say, not as I do. There you go. All right. So that is a motorized zoom lens. And if I take this camera, I'll show you. I can rotate this ring. And it will zoom. I'm just telling it go in one direction or go in the other direction. The difference being that it's not a very good motorized zoom because it doesn't give you a smooth zoom. It doesn't give you a zoom that you can ramp up in speed. It's zoom, stop, zoom, stop. And that's why I had talked about using ENG lenses, B4 lenses on your zoom. Now, if I stand behind it, I wonder if dragging this nope, you're still just cropping down on the sensor. It's not telling the camera to zoom. And that was one of the questions I really had was, will this one, like the Mevo, tell the lens to zoom instead of just digitally zooming? I'm going to pin this to the taskbar, and I am actually going to quit this and run it again to have it find the camera again, to test it again. And nope, there is no control over that, and it forgot that I wanted it the other way. So the zoom control, as we've been able to find, is not talking to the lens. The zoom control is merely a sensor crop, I would guess. Or either that or digitally zooming in on the footage coming off of the sensor, which is not something I would recommend. If you're going to, I mean, if you needed a little bit, I would say you could use a little bit, but I would not try to zoom in very far. 50 to 91, so that's a 2x right there that it's giving you. I wouldn't go in much further than that. It's kind of what you do on the Mevos as well. You can digitally crop about 2x before it really starts to look bad. But having an optical zoom is much better than zooming in digitally off of the sensor. Next up, going down the list, we have exposure. And I know a lot of people are going to wish that this content was in this, wish that this was on the back of the camera. Just being able to tell the camera, this is the exposure I want. Now, right now it's set to auto exposure, so if things are dark, you can see it get bright. And if I take it bright, it's gonna auto adjust the exposure. You can go manual. There you go. And I've got my aperture setting. I've got my ISO setting. So I'm going to need to increase the ISO here. Decrease the shutter. Oh, I can only increase? Wait a minute. Down goes up and up goes down. ISO up goes up and down goes down, like you would expect it to work. And f-stops go up and down, but shutter, if I want to go up from 60, I have to push the down. I don't engineer this stuff. But at least both buttons work. And then blurring, high. So what blurring is going to do is blurring is prioritizing keeping the widest shutter possible at a given exposure. So if you want the most background blur, you want the widest aperture, which is also the lowest number. I didn't engineer the photography stuff. That's just the way it works. If you don't care about that, then you can come into blurring and say middle, low, custom, and you can determine how much you want. I don't know about the AI exposure. Let's give it a shot. Interestingly, I can still select things. Oh, start. This features require login. Do you want to log in? No, I don't want to log in. Okay. We'll just leave it on auto. How about that? Here's your white balance, so you can move that around. Hey, let's do that. There we go. Well, I'm moving and it doesn't seem to be changing the picture. Oh, it's still on auto. Let's go to manual. There we go. Doesn't seem to have a dramatic effect on your image there. You can see it's slightly changing the color, but not a lot. If I put it back in auto, it's just going to figure it out. So we'll just leave that in auto, not dramatic going on there. And audio settings, since I don't have a microphone plugged in, and I don't have one sat out on the table, I'm not going to walk away and hook up a microphone, but maybe if I could ask my assistant, you know what, I am going to do that. I'm just going to walk away and go grab a microphone that I happen to have right here with a cable plugged in. And because this camera actually has a shoe, I can put it right there and I can plug it into the audio. Now, will this camera also provide, it's not line in, it's going to be mic in, noise reduction, no, audio latency, no, automatic gain control, sure, let's do that. And it would be nice if there was an audio meter somewhere on here, since it's providing audio control, but I don't see any. It'd be nice if there was an audio meter somewhere, like on the edge or over here, or even down here, just to indicate that it is getting audio, that it is powering the microphone, that it is there. What I can do is, coming in from that device, I will turn the audio on. Let me first go to the control panel and on, off. Okay, so we can see over here on the PC, which camera's in the way? This camera's in the way. We can see on the PC right here, this is the camera coming in from, oh, that's the laptop. Yolo. Yolo is 4. Oh, there it is. There's 4. Okay, good. That is bringing in audio from the camera. So if I unplug it, that should just basically go dead, indicating that that is indeed the camera. So it is going to power a bus-powered microphone like this little Boya that I've got on the back here. Good to know. So that you don't have to have a microphone that requires its own internal power. It will power the microphone. Awesome. And that it is set to microphone, and there is the level. And if I switch back over to the laptop, it's always going to be in the way somewhere. That's the way it works. And I am going to be in the way too. And we're going to increase this level here. And then switch back over to the PC. And you can see that the level here has gone up. And of course, you know what? I'm going to risk it. I'm going to move this back a little bit first. There we go. And turn off my microphone and turn on that microphone. So you're going to watch this. Turn off 7. So this that you're hearing me now, let me make sure I'm getting audio through it. This that you're hearing me now is actually the audio through the YoloCam. There's no other audio channels that are active that are being used. And if I tap this, that probably distorted. And let me turn this down a little bit. So there, maybe that's a little too much. We're just adjusting this on the fly. I didn't even expect to get to this point, but here we are, just touching into the red. And this way, let's go to the YOLO. Oh, I'm over top. Let's do that. So this is the audio and the video from the YoloCam. What I was hoping to find in the control panel was a bit of contrast adjustment, because I find this and the dark contrasty background, I find that a little bit too steep as opposed to what I can get from the GH4. If I put this over here as well and do side by side, GH4 is not balanced. And it is too bright, so I'm going to rotate one of the dials here. Is it in manual? Oh, hang on. Well, first of all, the ISO set to 1250, so I don't need that. And there we go. So being able to do this right on the camera, you can see the advantage of just being able to like twiddle some buttons on a camera and adjust the settings. And that, well, you know, it kind of is about the same contrasty, switching between the GH4 and the YOLO. GH4 and the YOLO. And the YOLO definitely has, oh, it's tracking me all right. It is definitely tracking me much faster than, not going to happen, is it? It's tracking me much faster there. So, I mean, we've got two of the, you know, very popular micro four thirds cameras. We've got the YoloCam S7, which has got this wicked fast autofocus from the sensor that's adjacent to the lens. It's giving us audio through the camera, out HDMI. This is, you're actually watching the HDMI from the camera. I don't even know if it's in sync, but you can let me know. And then I've got the GH4, which is still using the audio from the YoloCam, but the GH4 is also coming. They're both HDMI into the switcher, and I'm switching those right here on an HDMI video switcher. And I didn't white balance the GH4. You can definitely see the YOLO's doing a little bit better in terms of delivering an auto white balance, I feel. But the YOLO is also going to give you a vertical without the bracket. If you wanted to do vertical with the GH4, you would add the bracket. So one way or the other, you may need a bracket if you're doing both horizontal and vertical productions. Now, both of these, as you can see, are just set right here. I'm this far away, and that was the shot that you were getting. Also very contrasty in terms of this, my main light coming at me this way, and I don't really have a fill. And is the S7 camera from YoloLiv the great solution that you hope it will be? At $899, it's arguable. It does not come with a lens. That's the first thing. You're still going to have to spend more for a lens, maybe upwards of $50 to $100 or more. This lens I have on the GH4, this lens averages around $250. So all told, you're going to be over $1,000 with the YoloCam once you add the lens. Are there other choices that are available in that price range that are going to give you comparable image quality? Yes, like buying a used GH4 will give you comparable image quality, as well as being able to give you an on-screen, on-camera monitor and direct image controls. Those are really handy. You don't have to use a computer to dial it in. They also, Lumix also offers software on a tablet that can wirelessly connect to the phone and control it and dial in exposure and things like that. The YoloCam doesn't have wireless anything. They're both micro four thirds, so you have the same selection of lenses and capability with that. But what you're not going to get with the older camera is this time of flight sensor. And I think that's going to bring up the question, is that what's important to you? Do you need that fast focus? It's nice to have that fast focus. I'm not going to argue that point at all. I mean, because if you wanted to have something and somebody needed to hold up a product, I mean, that is going to be something that is going to be very useful to a set of people, myself included. Now, I don't know if this camera, let's just say for me, if the YoloCam would work in my situation, because my camera that's doing the fast focus, which is a Sony ZV-1, is behind a prompter, is behind glass. Does the time of flight sensor work through prompter glass? I don't know. I'd have to test it, and I'm not going to test that right now. So I think there is value to this camera at the price it is. I think it does offer a good value for the money in terms of giving you a good quality image, a really snappy focus that's reliable and accurate. It gives you the ability to add audio to it, line or mic level, and the mic level will power an on-camera microphone. It gives you the ability to connect it to a laptop to dial in settings, although one of the screens that I saw on that demo, the website demo, I didn't see when I actually started to dig in. Ah, maybe that's it. Live source, there it is. Skip tutorial. Let's go back over here to the laptop. And there is a color correction setting in here that long press. I don't want a long press. And a scene. So there's other parameters that I didn't quite get into that I also think it's ignoring me now. You can switch between cameras. Okay, but I don't have more than one camera connected. And it's ignoring me. So I'm going to quit this app. It's going to ignore me. So the app has crashed. So we are going to go into the task manager. We're going to look at our tasks. We're going to go into this one, and we are going to end this task. There we go. And then we'll launch it again. So, again, it forgot. No, not flip. We're going to go into 16:9. The website showed I don't know what it's doing there. That's a little bit deeper than I was hoping for. On the website, let me just hide this for a second. It shows this color adjustment. So there's the long press that we were looking at. What I would love to see is the ability to adjust your contrast. That is one of the things I feel that actually both of these cameras, and I know I can do it in the GH4 because you can go in and you can adjust the knee and the curve and give you a less contrasty image if you're in a contrasty situation like this. I would love to see that screen right there. I would love to be able to dial into the YoloCam and adjust the design of the image a little bit and just lower the contrast and make that a much easier setting. Because as I'm seeing it right now in this setting with the image settings over here on the left, sharpness, contrast, is this going to do it? Ooh, yeah, no, that really doesn't. I'm not looking to just flatten it in the middle. I'm looking to adjust where the curves are. And on the GH4 and other DSLRs, that's actually a very easy setting to get into. It's in the menus, and you can adjust the knee and the curve very easily, which makes the image, you're not changing the you're not going to make it super flat. That's not the goal. The goal is to reduce the highlight clipping and reduce the black, clipping in the blacks. That is what I would love to see in a camera like this, made much easier in the software. And thankfully, in terms of adjusting the software solution, that's quite easily done, because the software package is available as a separate download that can have its own updates separate from the camera, and then they can introduce other functionality in that control panel fairly quickly, as opposed to trying to revise the camera itself. A couple people joined us in. Cheaton is watching from Dublin, Ireland, and Carlos Phoenix is also watching. Reaction YouTube is saying hello from Chicago, and North Beach TV is watching from Ocean Shores, Washington. I think I hit you already before. That has been my look at, scooting the GH4 out of the way. That has been my look at the YoloBox YoloCam S7. I think it's a good value for the money. You're not going to find new cameras that are going to give you this level of functionality and this super fast focus with micro four thirds lenses at this price. I think it kind of stands alone for that particular feature. If you don't need the fast focus, then I feel there's a lot of other ways that you can go about capturing micro four thirds sized images with, you know, that capability through other cameras that are available, and that will deliver extra functionality like all of the controls on the camera themselves. So those are my thoughts on that. If you are new to the channel, and I see we got a good audience today, if you are new to the channel, I want to let you know that we are live on YouTube every Wednesday, and you can find all of the content right here on the StreamTek channel on YouTube. Lives, standalone videos, tutorials, interviews, and more. Those are all available on the StreamTek channel. You could also find out more at streamingmedia.com, where I am one of the many writers there. It's all about streaming media, both OTT and distribution, as well as production. You can sign up for a free newsletter there. And if you need to reach out to me in terms of consulting or find out about the StreamTek channel itself, you can go to streamtek.us. As I mentioned before, because we're talking about micro four thirds cameras, if you wanted to put a big lens, I don't want to say big lens on the camera. If you wanted to put this camera on a big lens, there's the B4 on M4 page. The putting B4 putting micro four thirds cameras on. Let's go here. On a micro, putting, like I says, if you do this, you're mounting the camera to the lens. You're not putting the lens on the camera. If I did that, it would literally snap the mount off of the camera. Don't do that. Don't hang this off of the front, because the micro four thirds mount is not made for this lens. However, this lens will give you 7 steps of zoom. It is completely parfocal, so once you focus it, it's in focus the entire zoom range. You get these up to 22x or more. And it is constant aperture. So once I set the aperture to f2, it stays at f2 no matter where I zoom. And a still lens is not going to give you any of that. It's not going to be parfocal. It's not going to be constant aperture. It's not going to give you a smooth zoom. And that is why there are many people who have joined the group and about putting B4 lenses on I should just rearrange the word on the group, putting micro four thirds cameras on B4 lenses, because there's a lot of value to that in terms of having a lot of flexibility and capability in production. So, I believe I am actually still on the audio from that one. Let me switch this back. There we go. Now I'm back on my regular audio. I had to look down at the meter. Hopefully you're able to hear the rest of that while I was talking through the microphone that is connected to the YoloCam. And I know I was off axis with regards to that camera, so I apologize. You know, you change the settings and you don't remember all the different settings, and because I'm self-producing these shows and switching them live, any streaming protocol comes in. Eric Jan van der Bogard. No, it is a camera. It is not a streaming device. And you can UVC it to your computer and use it as a camera in Zoom, Teams, whatever you want. You can use HDMI to a switcher, like a YOLO box. That's basically it. It is a video capture device. It's not encoding, it's not streaming, there's no YouTube, there's no RTSP, there's none of that. It's basically just a camera feeding out video via one of the two cables that are connected to it. And you can put audio into it. So there is that. So thank you for the question. And I think that pretty much wraps up the discussion of the YoloCam. Again, like I was saying at the very beginning, you've got this bracket on here. And if you're not using the bracket, this is going to be a fun one. If you're not using the bracket, then this is really designed to be a vertical camera. And while I'm not doing a vertical production, I'm gonna, well, I tightened it with, oh good, I got it with my fingers. You can take the bracket off and use this vertically, ooh, coming very close to the lens. You can use this vertically with your in-stream or your Director Mini, doing any sort of vertical production as well, and you get the same focusing capability that you get with the horizontal, except now, interestingly enough, as you can see, the time of flight sensor is centered with the lens, as opposed to being off to the side and being affected before your hand is in front of the camera. Now it's going to be centered over the camera. So you can really see that this is more designed as a vertical camera that you can also use sideways. But it's really the vertical sensor, the time of flight sensor underneath your micro four thirds, and then your microphone is over top of that. So it's really designed to be used in this way, but they include a bracket so you can do this. That is the YoloLiv S-Cam. As always, I appreciate you being here and being part of the show. I'll be here every week. My name is Anthony Brogus. I'm the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek. If you are interested in finding us, we're at Stream Technology on YouTube. And, wait for that one to go away. Go away. And I am also Stream Technology on Facebook. And till next time, I always love to say, thanks for watching.